Hello, welcome to another look at the week's news with me, Leo Kearse, and I'm joined today by Francis Foster. We're going to be talking about Trump's speech to the United Nations, which still exists, don't know for how much longer, where he slags off London, and some other stuff. We're going to be talking about cancel culture coming for the left, with Jimmy Kimmel getting cancelled for his comments about Charlie Kirk, and we're going to be talking about Islamic blasphemy laws in the UK, and autism being cured. Francis, how are you doing? It's terrible news for the UK comedy circuit that autism's being cancelled. What are they going to write shows about now?
Yeah, it is. I mean, well, what are you talking about? There's always ADHD.
Yeah, they'll come for that next. Man,
Yeah,
all these things. There's been an explosion in the amount of ADHD and autism in the last like 20 years, and it exactly coincides with them giving money to people, like giving extra benefits and stuff to people with autism and ADHD, and like a lot of our comedian friends, they get themselves diagnosed with ADHD so they can then get like NHS grade amphetamines for free from a doctor. You don't even need to go up to a Mercedes in the street.
yeah. No, look, it's true. It is true. But I want people to know that I was retarded before it became fashionable.
You've started
Have you
using
seen
that.
that? I can't remember the name of this comedian, and it really bugs me. It's like he's a dude in his 50s, and he's doing a set. He's obviously very good because it's filmed at the Comedy Cellar in New York, which is the best comedy club in the world. And he was doing his bit, and he was like, you know what? When I grew up in the 90s, everybody wanted to be tough, macho, be a black belt in karate. He goes, now everybody just wants to be gay and retarded.
It's funny that word's come back. I don't use it. I don't use the R word. I call it the R word, like you'd say the N word, even though everybody knows which word you actually mean, and they're saying it in their head, and all you've really done is telepathically made them be racist inside their own brain. But yeah, you've started saying the R word again.
Yeah, I love it.
But
It's the best word.
are you gonna say the N word?
What am I going to say the N word?
Yeah.
No, because actually Joe Rogan
See,
I don't know if he did this on his latest special. He had a brilliant joke about this. He goes like, I say the word retard all the time, and everyone's like, "Hey Joe, why do you say the word retard but you don't say the N word?" And he goes, "Because I'm more scared of black people than I am of retards."
Nice. And
That's
yeah,
a great
Trump.
joke.
Yeah,
So
it totally works. Totally works as a joke.
yeah,
And Trump gave a speech at the UN this week. Well, also, I don't know if it was the same speech, but he says he's cured autism. So he's done this sort of announcement with RFK Jr. saying they've cured autism, and he says the reason people have autism is paracetamol, taking paracetamol during pregnancy. Which, from I don't know, man. The thing is, like, you go on Twitter. There's a lot of doctors saying, "Well, this is all nonsense," but I'm not sure how
and
much to
what would
trust.
they know, Leo?
Well, I'm not sure how much to trust doctors anymore, because the thing is, like, the only doctors, medical experts, scientists, or whatever you can really trust are the ones who've been condemned as bigots, because they're the only ones that you can be sure aren't just saying stuff to stay safe, to stay in line with the establishment consensus. So maybe this is maybe Trump is right and the doctors are wrong, and the doctors are all just saying it because they're still trying to stay safe. Like when all the doctors signed the thing in the Lancet about
Oh,
COVID.
about COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just had this little image in my mind of like all these comedians buying Tylenol so that then they could get autism, so that then they could go away and do their little shows. But but maybe it is. Maybe it is. I reckon. Let's say it is. Let's say that Trump is correct. I
Yes.
reckon this is a very cunning ploy to then lure Elon back in and put little droplets in his food and then just cure him. You know, like you do with a cat. Like you put little droplets in their food and they don't know what's happening and they eat the antibiotics. I reckon that's what he's going to do to Elon.
Well, Elon was at the Charlie Kirk funeral with Trump. It was great to see that sort of reunification.
Yeah. It was. We've got to talk about the whole Charlie thing because obviously, I mean, you were the one who told me about it. Well, I
Yeah.
was going to interview him. We were going to interview him on trigonometry when we were in America. 48 hours before they murdered him, he was we booked him to come on the show. So I mean, it was obviously a shock, but it was also a shock because we were prepping. We were so excited to have a conversation with Charlie. I think with Charlie, he's done really. I don't think that people understood, particularly in this country, what a powerful force he was in conservative politics.
Yeah.
And because we're the wrong generation, but for people 30 and under, he was massive. He was a galvanizing force. And people talked a lot about, this is the podcast election. The part of the reason that Trump won was because of, going on Joe's show, going on, Theo's show, all of these shows. And of course it was. But I think what the people missed out as well is the power Charlie had to actually connect with young people, young kids, and turn them from liberal left-wing politics onto the path of conservatism and the right.
That's why they shot him. I mean that's literally why they shot him. And like I saw some sort of legacy media commentators in this country saying like, why is the BBC covering this? Nobody in the UK knows who he is. And it's like, yeah, you don't know who he is because you just read The Guardian or whatever. But for people who are on social media, and like you said, the sort of younger generation, like my wife is a bit younger than me. She's 16. It's okay. We got married in Afghanistan. It's all I paid for her and stuff. So, but her and her friends had big awareness. They might not have all agreed with whatever Charlie Kirk was saying, but they all knew who he was. And his reach, especially for younger people, was huge. And I don't think there's many people. Thing is, man, like in politics, everybody wants to like just talk in their echo chamber because that's why we're talking right now. But nobody wants to go out and actually have like proper engaging conversations. You'll see people going out like who's the guy? Is it Alex Stein? The guy who goes out totally baits the hell out of them. He's so funny, but it's not like anybody's getting being converted, being convinced. It's just hugely entertaining for people like us. Whereas Charlie Kirk, really went out and he's a really smart guy, very very eloquent, and also very sort of likable. And I think people could see when you've got somebody like that sitting down, people who've been told, people on the right, they're all monsters. They're all like that Francis Foster guy. Then they can see this guy and actually see that he's a nice, reasonable guy and he's listening and responding to what you're saying. And the other thing is, I mean, so much left-wing ideology and dogma just collapses under the slightest scrutiny. You know what I mean? It's like the stuff we'll talk about this later, but the Jeremy Corbyn, Zara Sultana party. So for anybody listening in America, this is like our hard left party. It's like the Zoran Mamdani party. So Zara Sultana.
I'm going to push back on that a little bit because from what I see of Zoran, he's at least competent.
Yeah, guys, well, he's a Democrat. Well, he's a Democratic. He's also in the Democratic Socialist Party, which is a different party, which I find very strange that he can then be the sort of Democrat candidate for mayor. But yeah, I don't think he is competent. I think he's another just idiotic communist who wants to, destroy civilization for his own benefit. But Corbyn and Sultana absolutely want to destroy civilization for their own benefit, as has happened in many countries around the world through the alliance of communism and Islamism. But it's tearing itself apart because you've got this party that contains the sort of transgender LGBTQ people and also the real hardline, Islamists. So that's never gonna work out,
it worked in Iran. What are you talking about?
Well, the great thing about Iran is, the Islamists and the socialists allied together to overthrow the Shah, and then after the Shah was overthrown, the socialists turned around to the Islamists and were like, "Oh, great! Can we have our vegan LGBTQ poetry cafes now?" And the Islamists were like, "No, we're gonna execute you." So
it's not all bad.
Man, well, this is the thing with what's happening in this country right now. Like, part of me wants to, get, Ben Habib or whoever is into power to, stop the Islamist takeover of the UK. The other part of me, because I think I'd be fine under an Islamist takeover. You know what I mean? I'd get a few extra wives. I'll be fine.
I don't think you would be, mate. We've all seen your Twitter feed.
Yeah, just change it. That was the old Leo. That was the old Leo. May I just say Allah Akbar? But, you know, like, I'd love to see all the leftists who are all like, oh my God, we simply must have as many Afghans and Iranians and Somalians as possible, and we must encourage the Islamism. And it's like, well, let's see you getting your fucking skull used as an ashtray then. You know what I mean? Like, they're the ones who are gonna suffer it. So part of me really wants to see the Islamist takeover, to see that happen, to see that play out, and to stand there smoking a cigar and saying, like, I told you so. There's no better phrase in the English language than I told you so, you socialist idiot. Oh, somebody's at the door. Just a moment.
There is no, you're right, there is no better phrase than I told you so. Apart from you're saying I told you so whilst you're in a gulag sharing a cell with the retard who helped fucking get you there. Then it doesn't feel as good. Then you're like, I told you, you absolute grade A more. So I live in this very she suburb of North London, right, where everyone has BLM stickers in their window, even though it's 2025. Everybody has BLM stickers. No one knows a black person. You know what I mean? That kind of place. So because I'm middle-aged and my body's slowly crumbling, I went to see my osteopath. That's how you know you're old, when you use the words "my osteopath."
That's how you know you got too much money. You're going to see a path. You don't need to see any kind of path.
What are you talking about? What, I should just sit there with a bulging disc, just being like
a bulging disc.
Yeah, that's what I get when I think of you, Leo. I get a bulging disc.
How did you? So you picked up a medicine ball. You were saying earlier. You picked up a medicine ball, and do you do squats?
Yeah, I do. I was actually doing squats with a medicine ball.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, but you got to do squats in a squat rack with a bar.
Yeah, well, I don't. I do it with a medicine ball. And then the medicine ball means I now need medicine. But anyway, what I was saying is this. I was there, and my osteo was going, yeah, you know, it's so nice. Like, he's actually, I didn't know, he's like a fan of trigonometry. And I was like, okay. And we were talking. And then he goes, yeah, I get so many left-wing people here. You know what they say? He goes, like, he's like, mate, I just got to shut my mouth because he goes, they come in and they start talking about how much they love Starmer.
Yeah.
Imagine liking Keir Starmer.
Nobody's saying that.
He told me they do. They're like, yeah, Keir's doing, you know, it's tough, but he's doing a good job.
Yeah. That's
Imagine
so weird.
That.
It's funny
Imagine that.
It's funny how people like automatically assume. Like, I was just in Australia for CPAC. Like, I did stand up and I did a political speech. I'm trying to be the new Constantine. You know what I mean? but like, I was sitting next to this lassie on the plane and we got talking. So she was English. She's living in Australia now, and you know, she's like, what do you do? And I'm like, or what are you going to Australia for? And I'm like, oh, I'm going for there's a political conference. And obviously she just assumed, because I said politics, she assumed I was left wing. She doesn't live in a world where you get like right wing people, and she starts going on about how when she was back home, she like went on a date with some guy. And he started talking about Tommy Robinson, and she's like, you know, oh, it's so disgusting, and blah, 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 without any sort of like depth of knowledge about any of the issues or anything. It's funny how, like, women, I think there's going to be a big swing, because like most women, like, listen to me, like most people are just, it's mostly women, are just going along with like whatever, like Tommy Robinson is a bad guy. They're going along with it because everybody else is going along with it. And I think once that perception starts to change, and once it becomes the sort of the good thing, the sort of preferred group preference to sort of support Tommy Robinson, all the women will just all at once, just like a flock of seagulls. An actual flock, not the band.
The band.
Yeah. Like a murmuration of starlings is probably a better analogy. They'll all just shift as one. And they still won't know why. But it'll be fun.
You know where we are now? It's that this stuff is becoming so undeniable. But I really admire the left. I really admire like the Diane Abbots who came out and basically. So I actually went because I'm one of those people. I'm a bit weird. I reckon if you're going to talk about something, you should experience it. So I went to the Tommy Robinson rally and I talked to people and I saw people and I was just. And then I saw people on like the hard left, your Zara Sultanas. Again, I think we need to say an underrated name. Fantastic. It's an underrated name.
Yeah.
And Diane Abbott. And they're all going, these are the fascists, these are the far right. And you just want to go to them. Actually, ladies, these are your old school Labour voters who used to vote for you en masse until you
Before.
fucking betrayed them.
Yeah, until you found out that you could import people who'd vote for you and that you could replace those voters in the post-industrial towns with like, the Muslim bloc. 85% of British Muslims voted for Jeremy Corbyn in 2017 was that election. It's
Jews
such
are
a
annoying.
huge bloc. Yeah,
Jews are annoying.
that's
Come on.
literally the message. And like everybody's like, oh my God, as soon as they come here, they become British. And it's like, no, they're still voting. They're still completely aligned with whatever tribal like cause, like Gaza. All these people, like Gaza's nowhere near the UK. Why are we? And Keir Starmer's like rewarded Hamas by recognising Palestine as a state.
My favourite MPs are those Muslim MPs who every once in a while pop up and go, in Prime Minister's question times, go, what we need, boys? We need to help build an airport in Pakistan.
Yeah.
And you're like,
building
what?
it. Yeah.
You're like, where did that come from? Or another one popped up recently and went, do you know what we need to do, lads? We need to be able to marry our first cousins. I'm like, who the fuck is walking around the clusterfuck that is this country? Everything is going into the bin. Everything's fucked. Everything's screwed. And it's like, do you know what? My cousin is actually really fit, and I think I should be allowed to bang her.
But I mean, I don't really have a problem with the cousin marriage thing. I think if there's going to be any sort of issue, if there's going to be any sort of problem down the line, any internecine tribal conflict, if we're going to balkanize, and then there's going to have to be some sort of war of liberation, I don't want the people that British patriots are fighting against to have improved the sort of the pool of material they're coming from. At least if they're banging their cousins, they're more likely to have webbed fingers. They're going to have trouble getting that finger inside the trigger guard of a machine gun. I think we really need to be looking ahead to these eventualities.
Do you know what we need to do? We just need to get everyone from Cornwall to fight these people, and it'll be a retard war.
But I mean, Britain doesn't have. Like, I know we joke about Cornwall, Norfolk, parts of Scotland. I'm from rural Scotland. I'm from where the bicycle was invented, and the bicycle actually did a huge amount to stop inbreeding because, I mean, part of it was sort of changes. They sort of reformed the church and also the way like inheritance worked and stuff. So then people you didn't have to like marry into the clan, keep the marriage in the clan to like preserve the wealth. But the bicycle, Kirkpatrick Macmillan lived like a mile away from where I grew up, and he invented this bicycle so then people could leave the valley. Because it's a real thing in Scotland. Like the valleys are pretty big. It's like people are distributed around. It's a lot like the Mirpur Valley in Pakistan, where a lot of the grooming gangs originated. So if you can get out the valley and at least shag a second cousin, then you're doing a lot to reduce the number of fingers on those hands.
That does explain a lot about Scottish people, mate.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
And Trump, talking of the UK, Trump was. Trump went to the United Nations to give a speech, and he was on an escalator. I don't know if you saw this, but he was on an escalator that then stopped. It cut off. And the funny thing about that is people at the UN had joked about it, that they were going to stop the escalator and then make a joke that the UN had run out of money because, Trump's cut funding to the UN, obviously, because it's, why would he fund his enemies? Like, the UN is one of these organizations set up with good ideas, good intentions, and now it's been completely subsumed by the global communist blobocracy, and they're anti-Trump, they're anti-civilization, they waste a huge amount of money, and they're just trying to turn everything crap. So so there's that. Then his teleprompter stopped as well, which, maybe somebody at the UN thought, this is going to be, this is how we're going to screw it. It just meant he went off script. Nobody goes off script better than Trump.
I know. That's the thing. I saw that, and he was very funny about it.
Yeah. And he said, he spoke about the Islamification of Britain, and he was criticised for this. He was described as Islamophobic and racist and all the other words that are increasingly coming to mean something good. and like Sadiq Khan was all like, this is man, I hate it when people are like, this is racist, this is Islamophobic, but they don't say it's wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I think Trump, I left London, I moved out of London because it's really going downhill. It's really becoming very UK aesthetics. Even like the nice parts are all like vape shops and just delivery drivers and stuff. And London isn't the place it used to be. Never mind, 50 years ago. It's not the place it was like 20 years ago when I moved down to London.
No. I grew up. I went for breakfast with an old mate of mine, and she doesn't live in London anymore. She's like mother of two, lives out in the country, and we were talking because we're around about the same age, and I said to her, Tash, because we grew up in South London, was it like this when we were growing up? She was like, no, it wasn't. It was completely different. That's why it really pisses me off when Sadiq Khan is effectively gaslighting me, going, "Oh, London's wonderful, man." I'm like, mate, I'm about a bit younger than you, and I grew up. I'm from near Tooting, which is where you are. Yeah. So don't tell me that this is somehow brilliant. Now that I walk out my door and I just watch two homeless people fucking.
Yeah. And that's if you're lucky. Like, if you're unlucky, you're going to walk out your door and see some guy who's decided to burn a book of that he's bought himself, so it's his own property. Yeah. What are you going to do him for, like, illegal bonfires? He decides to burn this book, and then somebody who really likes that book comes out and stabs him. And the person who stabs him, so there's a Quran burning outside the Turkish embassy. Some guy's like, sees the Quran being burnt and runs up to him with a knife, starts stabbing him and kicking him. And, the guy who burnt the Quran, he got fined because you're not allowed to burn your own book in London.
Absolutely, as it should be. Let's just make that clear.
Yeah, there's no way you should be able to do stuff with your own property. And basically the court was saying, but this is a magic book, and we can't, this is like a spell to summon a demon or whatever. Like we can't have this happening because it's the 1700s. But the guy who like stabbed him and attacked him and kicked him got nothing. He got like a suspended sentence. There's no jail time, no nothing. And the judge praised him.
It's important. Yeah, but what was he tweeting?
But it's just so, like, to sort of give that's the sort of example. You know how, like, Keir Starmer made a huge example of the people who rioted or tweeted after the Southport attacks because he wanted to say, like, listen, if you say anything about this, you can't criticize multiculturalism. It's still our greatest strength, even though kids are getting stabbed and raped and all the rest of it. If you say anything about it, we're going to come down on you like a ton of bricks. Surely this would be an opportunity to do the same thing for Islamists, to say, like, Britain's not going to tolerate Islamism. Instead, they said, listen, you do what you want. Do what you want. If you want to stab people, to, protect your religion, do it, and we'll give you a little tap on the wrist, and you can go about your day. And we'll give a stronger sentence to the guy who is criticizing your religion or burning his own property or whatever it is.
Yeah, but that's the way it should be, Leo. That's the way it should be. We can't have a justice system that is Islamophobic. All that man was doing was picking up a knife, trying to stab another man because his book was under threat, and we've got to respect that.
Well, we're gonna be forced. We're gonna be forced to respect that. Under threat of violence.
We're not going to be forced. Eventually, we're going to be persuaded to respect it. That's how it's going to work. It's going to be mass persuasion.
We got Labour bringing through their definition of Islamophobia. So, like, for people in America, I mean, this might not make sense to them, but we've got hate speech laws in this country that are used to
In
ensure...
your country, in particular, your fine nation.
Scotland.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's got some separate laws around stuff. But, I don't think England is getting off scot-free. No pun intended. Like, so basically, if you say something that goes against what the government says the opinion should be on, whatever it is, whether it could be like, is Leo Kearse a woman? And some people might say Leo Kearse isn't a woman. He looks like a man. He's got a cock, all this sort of stuff. But because I've changed my pronouns on LinkedIn, I'm a woman. I've gone through the radical process of pronoun changing on an internet site, and now I'm a woman. So you're not allowed to say that I'm a man without going to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're not allowed to criticize an imported alien form of societal and political organization masquerading as a religion, because that's also a hate crime. So the government can just pick and choose whatever opinions it wants. None of them have to, make any sense or be cohesive together. It's just a way of enforcing opinions.
We interviewed a guy called Alistair Heath on the podcast. Alistair is a Telegraph journalist, and he says that we are now living in the UK in a state of anarcho-tyranny.
Yeah.
And the way he defined it is this. He goes, it's tyrannical because there are certain people who are targeted because of their speech, who are then arrested, who are then imprisoned, who are facing, job losses, loss of reputation, all the rest of it. Okay? So on the one hand, you have tyranny. On the other hand, you have anarcho, which is basically anarchy, because the reality is we've got no rule of law. People can literally walk into a shop, come out with tons of stuff, and they're not going to get arrested. You are going to get, like we've just talked about it, a man openly try and kill another human being on the streets and not even go to jail. Get away with a slap on the wrist. So basically, so we're in this state now where effectively there is no rule of law. We live in complete tyranny, and we're an anarchic state where people are emboldened really to do whatever they want, to be however they want, to essentially commit crimes with impunity, apart from that very small section of people who, if you tweet even the mildest things like Graham Linehan, you get stopped at an airport by 5 police officers who have all got machine guns.
Well, it's funny coming back from Australia, you've got to really think about this stuff. You've got to have either a burner phone, or you've got to at least have your phone locked with a pin, because under terror laws, they can seize your phone and they can go through it, and they can force you to use biometrics to open it. And you've got to have a sort of protocol for when the police come to the door. And it's why are British people having to live like that? And there might be people who are watching saying, oh, but you're just being paranoid. It's like, no, I know people who've had their phones seized at the airport. I know people who've had the police go through their stuff.
Leo has a lot of friends who are paedophiles.
And it's great to see you on the pod, Francis. But no, like Callum from Lotus Eaters, quite a few people. Obviously, other people like Tommy Robinson gets his phone seized, gets stopped at the airport and stuff. And it sort of makes you realize, I'm sure in the 90s or whatever, I'd have been reading about Soviet Russia being like, oh man, so they've got to watch what they do. They've got to have a thing for, if the police come to the door. It's like, shit, we're actually living it. We've sort of slowly just become accustomed to it without even thinking about it. And it's kind of getting worse as well. You'd think, there's been all this attention on it, the non-crime hate incidents, all this sort of stuff. You'd think the authorities would be like, well, maybe we should tone it down a bit. It doesn't seem to be popular with the people. But they don't care about what's popular with the people anymore. It's funny, talking about democracy and stuff. I saw Farage announced a plan to have, as well as deportations, any foreign nationals in the UK won't be able to claim benefits. Apparently 1 in 6 people on universal credit is a foreign national, because, we've got a welfare state, we've also got open borders, so anybody who wants to can just come here, claim benefits, commit all kinds of fraud, crime, whatever, and the system protects them. And so Farage is talking about, rolling that back for foreign nationals, which, totally understands. You go to Dubai or whatever, it's not like, if you lose your job in Dubai, you've got like 3 months to get a new job or you're out. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, here's lots of benefits. Yeah, same in any sensible country. You know what I mean? Nowhere else bribes people to come and leech off the state. We've already got enough Scottish people. We don't need, we don't need that competition. But people were saying, oh, this is like the Guardian had a thing, like they were saying, Farage's announcement is a threat to democracy. It's like, no, people want this. Like the populace, the demos, the people who vote, they want this. So he's doing like what the people want, which is democracy. It's the establishment that wants to ignore what the people want and do what a bunch of really rubbish communists want to do. They're the ones that are like a threat to democracy, damaging democracy.
It's so interesting because, like I said, this part of North London that I live in, where everybody's, oh my God, man, I'm just super lefty. Why can't the whole world have sourdough? All these people, and you just go, they're so fundamentally disconnected from reality.
Yeah.
They're so disconnected. They're disconnected in every shape or form. Like they have remote jobs, so they don't have to interact with people. They live in this, shishi part of North London. They don't have to, they don't even have to clean their own house because they get somebody to do it. All of this, you're not connected to reality in any shape or form. And yet the people who are connected, who are suffering, you just turn around and basically call them a cunt.
Yeah.
Repeatedly.
Yeah. And
it's so wild.
And they can advocate for all these positions like, oh, of course we should have open borders because, they've kind of got to, because everybody else says that it's the good and kind thing to do and they can't go against the what the herd says. But they advocate for these positions just knowing full well that, it won't be their kids who are going to suffer. Well, they don't have kids, they've got cats. But, it's not like there's going to be a grooming gang going after their 13-year-old tabby cat. Like, they know that...
Give it a few years.
They know that, I can't believe, man, like, when Trump was all like, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, it's like, man, wait till you find out what they're doing in Britain. You know what I mean? Like, it's unbelievable. Like, man, some of the stuff that, I can't even talk about it. It makes me so angry. But yeah, beyond like murder, some of the stuff that's happened. But they know that, the people who advocate for open borders and stuff, the lefties, they know that it's all going to be, the negative consequences are going to be pushed onto like people who are poorer, who can't afford to insulate themselves. That's what my speech in Australia was about. 25 years ago, 30 years ago, Blair was like, and Labour were like, we need to rub the right's nose in diversity. I'm like, we need to rub the left's nose in diversity. Like these asylum hotels and all the rest of it, they need to just go in the left-wing areas. It's like, if you want this,
I live in one of them. Fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. It should be Francis' cat should be getting groomed. But yeah, we need to sort of, and I think the balkanization of Britain should be encouraged. I think at the moment it's not fair that you got people like, and then people will have a genuine choice at the ballot box. It's like you can either vote left-wing and you can have you can have all the enrichment, you can have the Ethiopian guy who's going to be following your daughter home from school. You can have that if you want it so bad. But then if you don't want that, you can vote for a right-wing party and they'll make sure there's no asylum hotels in your area. There's none of that. And I think that'd be a good way to go. And also, man, you know what else really did my nutting was I read a story about British flags going up outside a mosque. And the people in the mosque, and of course this is in the mainstream media, so it's being reported as if the people putting up the flags are definite hate criminals. So they put up these British flags. It's on a street with a mosque on it. People in the mosque were like, well, this is a hate crime. And it's like, I've been told, oh, the people that come here, they're just as British as you. They've got every much a right to be here as you do. They're just as British as you. And it's like, well, if they're just as British as me, why don't they like my flag? Why do they see my flag as being some sort of hate crime against them? It sounds like they're not British at all, but they're sort of geographically inside Britain, but have a completely separate identity and aren't integrated at all.
Yeah, well, this is it. And look, this is the real issue, is that if you come to this country and you're like, I'm going to be British, I want to be part, I want to contribute, and, that's great. And there's loads of people, there's generations of people who've done that. The Sikhs, a perfect example of it. They are British, proud to be British, whatever else. But if you're like, you know what? I'm going to bring all of the bad shit from my culture over here. And if you complain, I'm going to call you racist. That can't sustain. That cannot sustain.
And it's the left. It's the left calling people racist because the left are sort of bringing these people in as a weapon, as a battering ram against, Western capitalism and against, the nation state. They want to tear down those structures so they can replace it with, this really rubbish communist blobocracy. So
here's the thing, right? Social cohesion is key for any society, for any community, no matter how big or how small. When I was teaching, if you had a group of 30 kids and there were 2 kids there who were disruptive and just wanted to create mayhem and stop people from learning, the entire thing was fun.
Yeah.
That's all it would need. 2 kids out of a group of 30.
Yeah.
So if you take that, times that by 3, so that's 96. I can't really do the math in my head, but that's less than 10%.
Yeah. Neither can your kids or your teachers.
Yeah, because they fucking ruined it. But that's basically less than 10% of the kids. The entire lesson was out the window.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's essentially what we're facing here on a larger scale.
Yeah.
And people going, I don't want to be part of it. I think you're evil. I dislike your culture. I dislike your history. I'm going to be openly subversive, and I'm going to do everything in my power to subvert it. And you go, all right, well, I don't know what to do now.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. And it's so retarded because, you get people going, oh, my God, what has Britain contributed to the world? Are you serious? Have you picked up a book? Have you ever listened to an album? Have you actually read history? Have you read about engineering? Do you know anything about the Industrial Revolution? You grade A retard.
Even our empire was like you love that word now, don't you? You weren't saying it a few years ago. But now that it's safe, you're saying it. But
no, I said it. I said it at a corporate gig last Thursday to a group of tech professionals, and I lost the fucking room.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not allowed to say that word. Like a LinkedIn event.
I went, I identify as retarded. I went, listen, if a man can identify as a woman, why can't I identify as a retard? And there was already going there. I went, yeah. And my pronouns are no.
It's very good.
And everybody was quiet apart from 4 men who were like that, and 1 woman who sounded like she was crying.
Sounds like a normal gig for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I used to say the word in my set, but somebody actually came up to me after a gig and was like, look, you've got every right to use that word, but just so you know, my son has got I can't remember what it was, like some sort of mental health thing, and he's experienced that's being used as a slur against him. It's caused a lot of pain, and so now I say the N word instead. That actually a pretty profound effect on me. And also he wasn't coming like being like, listen, you can't say that. He just explained, the sort of pain that he'd experienced from it. But I don't expect to have any impact on you. Also, like, I wanted to talk about because this attack on sort of nativism, this attack on the flag and stuff, and it's funny, you see people on the left being like, Nigel Farage is a Nazi and Tommy Robinson is a Nazi. It's like, Nigel Farage is probably the safest off-ramp for this nativist uprising right now. There's people waiting in the wings. It's like when you get rid of Charlie Kirk, Nick Fuentes is there to take over. You want to be careful. If you think you're making things better for the left, you could be making things a whole lot worse. But this nativist uprising, we're seeing, Putin like starting to mess with NATO, and NATO is sort of being exposed as a bit of a paper tiger. It's a Potemkin. It's not a Potemkin army. It's got military might, but that whole idea of like, an attack on one is an attack on all is like, nah, an attack on one is like, we'll see what happens. It's not like the entirety of NATO is going to respond. I think, the threat of military action could actually save the UK, because all the people saying like, oh, you can't have flags because that's racist and British flags are racist. It's like, well, how are you going to have a military without flags? What, we're all going to rally to the clarion call of, let's protect this borderless economic zone. Come on, guys, let's go overseas and fight. So, we can make things nice for all the people coming across in small boats to, or the grooming gangs who are raping your kids. It's like, no, we're going to have to actually have some sort of backbone, some sort of patriotic nativist feeling to actually have a military. You can't have, a mercenary army. That's not going to work. You need, like, look at Ukraine. The army there has done an insane job protecting a country from a much larger, more powerful country, much larger, more powerful military. A lot of that's to do with the fact that, like, they have a real nationalist spirit and they're not shy about it. And, some of them, it's interesting. The Guardian would be criticizing them any other year, but because they're fighting Russia, the Guardian's like, oh my God, these people are so wonderful. And it's like, man, these people are a lot more patriotic and nationalist than, like, even patriotic nationalist Brits.
Well, look, this is the thing. This is why I always get pissed off with woke people the moment the Euros or the World Cup comes round. Because I'm a football fan. I don't really have a lot of time to watch it anymore, but I still love the tournaments and I'll sit and watch it. You don't like football because you're Scottish and your team's shit. And I get it. We accept that, right?
Look at you smirking away.
I thought you're good.
Venezuelan. Isn't your whole comedy thing about how you're like Venezuelan or Jewish or something?
I'm half Venezuelan. Yeah, I know.
And your dad's from Wigan.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I came out looking Jewish.
It's a classic.
That was a good Francis Foster impression.
Yeah. And you did a little cocaine snort at the end. So
yeah,
that's
what you do after your jokes.
My back. Fuck you. But here's my point. Here is the point I'm making. Right? So I go and I watch the football. And I'm enjoying it. And it's England and whatever else. And then you just get people turn up and go, oh my God, I love watching the football. I'm like, I thought we were a white supremacist, colonialist, patriarchal, racist society.
Yeah, this is the difference between Britain and Russia. So, like, Brits, like, in the absence of any sort of Cold War or real war, nations sort of still fought each other through our football fans. You know what I mean? We all meet in a town square in Marseille and chuck white plastic chairs at each other. It was incredibly exciting. And it was the only thing worth watching on the news. And for some reason, the total pussies who run the country were like, oh my God, we've got to stop all these guys having a bit of fun. So they banned, like, football violence. But Russia didn't. Russia, like, actually trains its football hooligans. They got military connections and stuff. And they get trained in all this stuff. And whereas we're locking up our best ones, like, Russia's training their best ones and sending them to the tournaments. I remember about 10 years ago, maybe longer, like, the Russian fans were in Marseille or somewhere like that, and they were absolutely, like, it was like like in a Hollywood movie where the guy goes through all the henchmen. It was sort of like that. These Russian guys were just, like, absolutely annihilated because we've just got, like, fat guys left because we've locked up or banned all our decent fighters. We need to radically change that. I mean, apart from being the only entertaining thing about football, the only thing worth watching. And you can't tell me that football violence is boring or football is made worse by it. Because if a fight breaks out in the stand, everybody turns and watches the fight. You know what I mean? If you're at a boxing match, somebody starts doing keepy-uppies, nobody's turning around and watching the guy doing keepy-uppies because football is inherently boring and stupid. It's like we've got hands. We've got hands. Why are you kicking it? But yeah, like we need to like rediscover our balls.
We do.
Testes.
We do. And I think actually you're making a very profound point, because
always
a large part of the reason we're in this mess, and people go, oh, it's the culture war, man. And of course it's the culture war. Oh, it's this kind of radical socialism that has been spread through social media. Again, valid point. They go, okay, see, we've been indoctrinating our kids. Yes, good point. All of it. It's also because we are pussies.
Yeah.
We're fucking pussies.
And
a man walks in to an office with a wig on, with a couple of fucking balloons up his top, wearing a skirt and some suspenders, and he's like, oh, I'm Deirdre now, and you have to respect my pronouns. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, we were... No!
Yeah.
You're not a fucking woman, Derek. You're not. You're not a fucking woman. You've got more in common with Derek Chisora, the heavyweight boxer, than you do like a 5'2" Deirdre on accounts.
Yeah. No, it's totally true. And I think because there's been a sort of pretty consistent decline in testosterone in Western society, and a lot of this is to do with obesity, because people are like, when you get fat, like the amount of testosterone you produce goes down. But I think it's also just to do with, like, I think culturally we're low testosterone. Like, we've sort of lost that. Like in America, the jock culture of being aggressive. Like in the UK, the whole, the football hooliganism, all that sort of stuff that would give people this incredible high, all that's been suppressed, and now everybody's got to be like one of these led by donkeys, like, drinking your estrogen, your Brewdog estrogen lager, and sitting and being a pussy and complaining, calling Farage a Nazi or whatever. And yeah, if we just rediscovered, we used to fight Vikings, and Vikings are tough, We used to fight them. Like, there used to be people coming across from... Like, we went across to France, Agincourt, the Battle of Agincourt. Like, 5,000 guys defeated 20,000 guys because they were tougher. They weren't, like... They didn't have pronouns. They had, like, bows and arrows and big swords and stuff. So it was a really cool battle. Like, it's quite an interesting battle to study, which I haven't done, so I've probably got the details wrong. But yeah, I think we need to, and I think the sort of having some sort of external military threat, whether it's from Russia or China or whatever, is actually going to help us, even if it's from America. Because the other thing is, what is the other thing? Man, I'm very jet lagged. But yeah, I think this country's got to offer, like, our regime, our system has got to offer a better life than China. Because at the moment, like, if China invaded, I'd be like, well, how's it going to be worse for me? Like, I can understand how it'd be worse for some people, but, China seems to have a good grip on a lot of the social issues that are wrecking Western Europe. And yeah, they've got, free speech is suppressed. I'm sure people disappear, go to gulags or whatever. But it's not going to be me. You know what I mean? At the moment, I'm the one getting, like, Helen Joyce, people like feminists and stuff, Graham Linehan. These are the people getting, like, hammered by the system right now, which is so dumb. We're like good citizens, and then, like, you go and stab some guy in the street because he's burning a book. Like, they're the ones who get protected. Like, Lucy Connolly got 32 months in prison, and this guy doesn't get any jail time whatsoever for real life sectarian motivated attack on someone. It's absolutely bananas. So yeah, I think for all that, people stand up in the European Parliament and be like, the West is such an oasis of tolerance and all the rest of it. Man, I'd like to be tolerated. I'd quite like to be tolerated.
You know, yeah. The depressing thing is, I can't really argue with it. I can't really argue with it. And like, at least if we lived in China, the food would be fucking better as well.
Yeah. Ah, man. I know Singapore's not China. I know that's like saying like Ulaanbaatar is part of, British culture. But yeah, I was in Singapore. Singapore airport is just insane. Like, so I was tired. Like, I'd flown from Australia, and because I was just there for the weekend, so it's a long commute. You know what I mean? And so I flew to Singapore. So I was tired. I had like a 8-hour flight. They've got a swimming pool on the roof. So I went and like really nice, like in the tropical sun in the swimming pool. Then I went to get some food, like lax. It's not like going to Luton Airport where like there's about one toilet between like 20,000 people. I remember like having
but the good thing is, mate, is that you can get your daughter molested.
Yeah, man, that's the thing about, because Tommy Robinson's from Luton, and he's literally just, people talk about their real, what's the word they say for their real life, their lived experience. Yeah. It's like, well, how come some people's lived experience doesn't matter, But man,
it's almost like it contravenes your ideology.
Yeah. Anywhere I've been in China, which is just like one place, it was Wuhan, funnily enough. It's just been like really like well put together, laid out and stuff. I'm not funded by the Chinese marketing board or anything. But I just think, man, Europe has got to get a grip on what it is. Like, how it's
loads of people. It's not. Look, let's be fair. It's not just China. I know so many people who've moved to Dubai.
Yeah.
They've moved to Dubai, and they get asked why, and they're like, "It's safety, mate."
Yeah.
I've got kids. I don't want them getting stabbed.
Yeah. Or molested by a grooming gang.
Yeah,
and funnily enough, if you go to a Muslim country, they've often got a much better grasp on Islamism than we do in the West, because, they've experienced Islamism, before we have, so they don't have these like woolly, cuddly, wuddly notions about what it's going to be like. Like the King of Jordan, if you hear him talk about it, he's like, yeah, no, we're going to, like, the way Egypt treated the Muslim Brotherhood. Whereas the Muslim Brotherhood probably get Arts Council grants in Britain.
They do, and then they get accepted, and then they get to do performative, interpretive dance with Jeremy Corbyn. Yeah,
involving big swords.
Yeah, absolutely massive swords. Listen, we've got to talk about Zara. She's incredible. I love her. I love Zara Sultana. I want to marry her.
So Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn, they're like two sort of hard left figures in British politics. Jeremy Corbyn was the leader of the Labour Party, for anybody in America who's listening. And they formed this party that's called Your Party, because they haven't come up with a name yet. I signed up to it. I'm on the mailing list. When they say like, we've got 120,000 members or whatever, it's like, yeah, this guy's like me. But yeah, so they haven't named it yet. But this is the thing about socialists and communists. They're all like, if you just let us run every intricate detail of the economy and government and everything, so a way more complicated system than we've currently got, and all, administered by the state, everything's going to be much better, and we'll run it much better than the free market ever could. So they haven't even launched this party yet. And they've, they sent out the first email to like raise money or whatever. Anyway, the first email to like raise money, Zara Sultana sends it out and is all like, we've got this thing, you can sign up, you can donate 25 quid a year, whatever, you dirty, smelly, unemployed people can afford, who support communism, like whatever, like you can sign up here. Then Jeremy Corbyn's like, I haven't sanctioned this. This is not official, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, I'm suing you for defamation. And it's like, so these are the people who think that they can run every single intricacy of the entire economy and everything. They can't even send one email. They can't launch a party. Man, there's no way. You're going to trust these people running nuclear power stations? The whole thing. Like, this just shows straight away why communism doesn't work. They got this idea. The Soviet Union, all the intellectuals were like, we're going to have experts running everything. We're going to have panels of experts, and that's going to be much more efficient than the free market. It's like, no, the free market is much more effective because everybody's working to their own best interests, so it results in a much more cohesive, much more efficient system. If you have complete numbskulls trying to run everything, I don't know, it's so emblematic of how useless communists are, and the amount of arrogance that they've got to be like, well, we can run everything. It's like, no, you couldn't run to the shops to get a Mars bar.
It's so true. It's so true. And you know what I loved about Zara are the excuses that she made. She called it a sexist boys' club. You know she wanted to say Islamophobic, but she couldn't because five out of the 7 members are Muslim. 6 out of the 7, including her. Right? There's only one that ain't. Is Corbyn, and he's pretty Muslim anyway. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So all you could do is go with the sexism route. She couldn't go racism. She couldn't go Islamophobic, so she went sexist. Right?
It's like when Jess Phillips was campaigning to get re-elected, and she almost lost her seat to a sort of a Muslim. Muslim guy, because it's funny, all the Muslims that were brought in by Labour to tilt the electoral balance in Labour's favour, now there's enough of them to get their own candidates elected, they're doing that instead of voting Labour. But yeah, so she was campaigning. This guy, or his cronies or whatever, were intimidating her. And she, even when the election result was announced, she was getting all these like boos and heckles and stuff. And then she was interviewed afterwards, and they were like, you got all this abuse from the Muslim community or these Muslim men, and do you think it's relevant that they're Muslim men? And she's like, no, I don't think it's relevant that they're Muslim at all. I think it's relevant that they're men. She's just like, just men are bad. There's see Iran, see what's happening. Well, it's just because they're men. Afghanistan, it's because they're men. Afghanistan, nothing to do with Islamism whatsoever. But
it's
the lies. But sorry, I interrupted you when you were going off on one.
No, it's just that and then she said that, and then you know what she blamed it on afterwards? The right wing of the party.
Yeah, that radical reform section of their hard left party.
It's like, it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter how badly you fuck up. It's the right's fault. It's the right's fault.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, it's perfect. We've all written satire and satirical pieces, online stand-up work. You will never, nobody will ever be able to write anything as beautiful as that. Yeah. It's the right wing of a party that doesn't even fucking exist.
Oh, yeah, talking of stand-up, we should plug our shows. We're doing a show. I'm going to get this up today. So on Friday, me and Francis are doing a couple of shows at the Hems in London. There's still tickets. I think there's still tickets available for both of them. They're selling all right, though. It's going to be fun. So some tickets available for that. That's the 26th of September.
Friday, 26th of September. There's 2 shows. There's an early and there's a late. It's in Soho, right in the centre of London, the Hems pub. So if you want, you can go to the early, then go out with your mates, get drunk, talk about why everything's going to the shit over a Chinese. God bless Xi Jinping, our Lord and ruler. Or if you want, you can come to the late show, which means you can go and have a few beers beforehand and come and watch us.
Yeah, and I'm doing a show in November on the 26th in Southampton. Without Francis, so that'll be better because you won't have to sit through Francis. But yeah, come to our shows. They've been fun. Those shows we've been doing at the Hems.
They've been great, and we've said loads of shit that you wouldn't be able to say anywhere else.
Yeah, and so and come and see us before Zara Sultana gets in and bans comedy.
She's not going to get in.
But man, there's been I think because I'd have thought by now, people would be getting sick of the left, but actually they're just getting sick of like the sort of Labour centrist left, and they love the communists. I think this is because people don't own houses anymore and they don't have kids anymore, so they've got no real stake in society. They've got nothing to protect, nothing to conserve. I mean, the essence of conservatism is protecting, what you've got. And if you don't have anything, if your culture's been eroded, and if you, materially don't have a house, don't have anything like that, you don't have kids, what have you got to of course you're going to want some sort of radical revolution. You're going to want the redistribution of wealth. I can't really sort of blame people for thinking like that, except, you're wrong and you're stupid. But that's why I guess your party is polling at like, what, 10% or something? And then you've got the Green Party as well, which I think is polling a bit less.
But that's exactly the reason why. Look, let's be fair as well. I do have a certain amount of empathy for young people because they go, well, the voting, the electoral system, every party is skewed in favor of old people
Yeah.
because old people, there's more of them, they vote more, they take all the money. So what young people are is being essentially glorified serfs to keep all of these old people in triple lock pensions in their houses, whilst they're just getting taxed up to the eyeballs, not even scraping a living, just existing. And they're looking at old people and going, you know what? Fuck you.
Yeah.
And it's look at COVID. COVID is the ultimate example of this. We're going to shut down the entire society to protect the vulnerable, of which there were. Oh, and by the way, if you're young, the best years of your life are going to be stuck in your fucking bedroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
No wonder they're pissed.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
Yeah.
Like,
but you can see they're going one of two ways. There's a lot of young people who are actually going more right wing, and you're seeing this in
men
Europe
are going
a lot
right,
as well.
women are going left.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Broadly.
But I think the women could tack right quite radically, like quite soon, because I think women are much more sort of like hive-minded. Not to be misogynist or anything, but I just from my limited interactions with them, that's what I think. And I think young people are also recognizing that mass immigration has kind of stolen their future. So now it's why would you get a young person to do something, to do a job, when you could just get somebody that's come in from the Horn of Africa, will work, won't question any, employment laws or complain or anything like that. And also, like, because these people are coming in, so you're competing against like the whole world for jobs. So that's, pushing your wages down, reducing opportunities. You're also competing against the whole world for property. So house prices have gone through the roof because the whole world can come here and buy a house. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I think the fact that home ownership has gone down, I think we really need to, because I noticed, like, I never owned a house till I still don't. Like, a bank owns it for the next like 28 years or something, but like until I was like 49, and which is old for somebody to buy a house. But the difference, like, all of a sudden I've just noticed, because I always used to be like, stuff doesn't really matter because we can just move, or we can just whatever, we can move to Australia, or I'm sure there'll be a way out. Now that I've sort of like actually got bricks on the ground, it's like, no, this needs to work. And so it makes you really think, really sharpen your mind about, where Britain's going and stuff like that. And I think, if more people owned houses, or had kids, those are the two things that I think, make you really think more smartly and less ideologically about how the world is. Like, that would solve, a lot of the problems in the UK. Would have a lot less of this sort of radical communist nonsense.
Absolutely. And it's also as well, let's also be honest, women have been totally screwed. They've been told a lie. They're like, oh, you don't have kids, you're going to be a girl boss. You're going to have this great job and it doesn't matter. And all of a sudden they get to their late 30s and they realize that it's really difficult, if not impossible, for some to have children.
Yeah. And
they feel very angry and bitter about it because nobody explained to them that actually it's really difficult to get pregnant, if not impossible, in your late 30s.
Yeah. And they're sort of channeling this sort of, because they don't have kids to look after, they're channeling that nurturing instinct into, we must look after this 23-year-old Janjaweed militant from the Horn of Africa. We must invite 75,000 of his friends here. And, then obviously they're, it's not the same as, having a toddler that's come out your fanny and turns into a real person in Britain. And I can't remember what the other thing was I was going to say. I got distracted by my own image of a woman giving birth. Oh, the egg thing. So many businesses, like, over the last like 15 years or something, have been like, well, we'll pay for you to, like, pay for you to freeze your eggs. We'll pay for this.
We'll pay for you to freeze your eggs.
And people are like, oh my God, this company's so generous and so good. Look, they pay for abortions and they pay for me to freeze my eggs. It's like, no, they're paying for those things to keep you working. They want you in that cubicle making money for them. They don't want you going away and like having a baby and getting distracted and then maybe not coming back to work. So it's not a kindness thing. It's a workforce retention thing. It's a chain around your neck. But now what they're finding as well is these eggs that were frozen 10 years ago that they were promised, so once you've, reached wherever you want to go in your career and you can afford to, take a year off to have a baby and stuff, we'll freeze your eggs so you can do that then. These eggs aren't viable. There's not the sort of viability people expected. There was a woman who was on the cover of a magazine sort of not selling it, but like, being like the sort of the cover girl for egg freezing, some high-flying executive. And yeah, her eggs failed. I wanted to talk as well about Jimmy Kimmel. I know we touched on it earlier, but this is like cancel culture is coming for the left now. And we saw a lot of people on the left losing their jobs. Like they posted on social media after Charlie Kirk's assassination, they posted, pretty nasty stuff. And you think, like the equivalent on the left for Charlie Kirk dying is like George Floyd, the epitome of leftism. He's a criminal. He takes drugs, brutalizes women. And he died resisting arrest. So, after George Floyd died, I'm sure some people might have thought, well, I should say something nasty about this guy. But they didn't because, well, maybe not so much out of niceness, but out of the fact that, you'd have really got in trouble. Whereas pretty much everybody on the left was like, oh, Charlie Kirk, comparing him to Hitler and stuff, and just really nasty stuff when his body's, not even in the ground.
Yeah.
People were saying horrible stuff, and, Charlie Kirk is obviously a good guy, very smart, family guy, all the rest of it. And so some left-wing people were getting cancelled, losing their jobs, and losing their visas to come to America. And this is like cancel culture coming for the left. Even Jimmy Kimmel, ham to him. And some people are saying, oh, but all these free speech people, now now people on the left are getting cancelled. But I'm a free speech guy. But mostly just for me, you know what I mean? I don't care about people on the left losing their free speech. I actually think it's good if people on the left experience cancel culture because they need to understand what a horrible thing it is. And we had so many people on the right losing their jobs, so you got all that fear. How am I going to provide for my family? All the social approbation, whatever. They're losing it, but for, very like sort of normal things like saying that a man can't be a woman, which is actually true.
Disgusting.
Like a man.
No, it's disgusting.
I mean, apart from me, I've fully fully transitioned. Whereas like this is like really nastily being horrible about a guy who's just been shot. So I don't know. I know you're a free speech guy. Do you think it's right that Jimmy Kimmel was cancelled?
No, I didn't like it that Jimmy Kimmel was cancelled. I know what he said was factually incorrect. What should have happened is he should have apologized and he should have issued a correction because it's important because he's got a big network.
He has apologized now, because he goes out in Disney. I think it was Disney that cancelled him. So he did a sort of tearful apology.
And by the way, the same company that cancelled Gina Carano for simply having for being
Republican. Yeah, for being Republican aligned. Never mind. Imagine if people were getting fired for being Democrat aligned or for voting for Kamala. I mean, that's the difference.
Is right. Of course, Gina is a Republican. She's a hot woman who used to be a fighter.
Yeah.
Of course, she's not on the fucking left.
Yeah. And she was great in that show. I watched that show, The Mandalorian. For a bit. Then I stopped when they fired her. I stopped watching it because I was just like, "Well, this isn't for me." Then, if this is just some sort of cliquey like thing that's just for left wing people, I'm not. I can't get invested in this show anymore. But yeah, that just sort of exemplifies the difference between cancel culture on the right and cancel culture on the left. Like on the right, the slightest thing, just being normal gets you totally cancelled beyond belief. Whereas on the left, you got to like really just like, you know, turn up at the funeral and like, you know, spit in the mashed potato and all the rest of it to like to get cancelled. And man, I stand by, like, I absolutely 100% approve of people on the left getting like cancelled beyond belief, because they've really got to learn. Like, I want people on the left to be begging for hate crime laws, hate speech laws to be repealed. I want them to be saying, no, cancel culture is terrible. And I think, you know, when we've got enough of them cancelled, then they'll start doing that. And we can be like, okay, well, yeah, now we can. It's like you can't win a war without fighting the enemy. You can't win a war without, you know, stopping them, you know, making them experience losses. Like if Ukraine had just like, you know, been like, okay, fine, you can just blow up our cities, then Putin would have rolled over the whole country. Instead, they're fighting back and they're taking troops out and they're taking out refineries.
Mate, you make a good point. I just find it so depressing that this is where we are as a culture. I find it so depressing that I always remember we had this one person on, and they went on the show on Trigonometry, and they went, "Oh my God, you know, it was only when I saw my friends being cancelled that I realised cancel culture was a bad thing." I'm like, hang on a second.
There we go.
Hang on a second. So it was only when you saw your friends lose their livelihood, have their reputations destroyed, the impact it had on their mental health. I mean, you're the side of mental health, aren't you? Isn't that what you bang on about every 12 seconds, right? And the impact that had on their families, their mental health, their kids, their ability to support a family. And it's only now. It's like going, you know what? It's only when my friend got raped that I realised rape is bad.
Yeah. But that's how people are. That's why the left doesn't care about grooming gangs. That's why they're, it's just some underclass, working class girls in Rotherham. You know, nobody on the left cares about them because they're not even in the same class strata as the left. It's not even. That's why people on the left are like, you know, the real problem, of course, is when a Hollywood producer puts his hand on Emma Thompson's knee. That's when we've got to take to the streets with placards. You know what I mean? If anybody complains about Beeraderry clans from the Mirpur Valley doing it, then they're racist. They're racist because they're interfering in these poor minorities' authentic traditions and cultural customs. So yeah, man, like I really think this is why we've got to rub the left's nose in diversity. We've got to rub the left's nose in cancel culture, and you know, some of it is just that vengeance. I was actually, you know, I saw Charlie Kirk's widow saying she forgived his killer, and people always say that forgiveness is like is good. It sort of relieves the burden on yourself. I don't think it does. I think vengeance is better. Like if you watch a revenge thriller, it's way better than watching a forgiveness thriller.
Yeah, I think for your own sake, you have to. I just don't.
Vengeance.
Vengeance. I think you have to. I can't even imagine what she's going through. And I find the people who direct hate at her, I find them even worse than the people who direct hate at Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
It's as despicable as what they're saying about Charlie. He's dead.
Yeah.
You can't hear it. It's not going to affect him. But she's like, in a matter of weeks, she's a young mother of soon to be 3 kids who's lost her husband in the most brutal and traumatic way, literally gunned down in front of her eyes.
Yeah.
And you're sending shit. I mean, like, genuinely, what goes through your head? What goes through your head when you're writing out that tweet to a mother of 3, soon to be 3 kids, two infants and 1 unborn?
Yeah.
What? I mean, do you not just go, maybe I'm the cunt here? Maybe.
But then, I mean, that's why Jimmy Kimmel, you know, his show goes out to like, what, 1.7 million people?
No, it doesn't, 126,000.
No, it's 1.7. I read Jimmy Kimmel.
No, it's 100. Apparently, the real number.
It can't be 126,000. That's
apparently,
like my show on GB News.
Yeah, it's 126,000. Apparently.
It's got to be more than that.
No, apparently, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's more than that, because the economics just wouldn't add up, and I'm sure no left-wing company would run something that wasn't profitable. But yeah, Jimmy Kimmel's like, going out and saying that. This is why people are like, oh, it's terrible, he was cancelled. It's like, no, he did a pretty horrible thing. He was like slagging off Charlie Kirk and also spreading a sort of malicious.
Did he slag off Charlie Kirk, to be fair? Did he?
Yeah, he kind of, and his whole tone was like, man, if he'd have come out and said that about George Floyd, absolutely, he'd have just been erased from humanity. We wouldn't even know the name Jimmy Kimmel anymore. He also spread the sort of the lie that the shooter is Republican. This shooter with who's had gay transgender furry boyfriends.
Yeah.
And was an avid user of Reddit and all this other stuff, and left all these, couldn't have left more calling cards that he was, left wing. They're saying he's Republican, and it's like, that's just very silly to say.
I mean, it's disgusting. Did he actually say he's Republican, or did he frame it that it was like they were trying to say that he wasn't Republican? Because I'm trying to get the. Did he explicitly say that's the thing? Because look, what he said, for people who are watching,
he said one of his,
defending him. I'm not defending him. I'm trying to clarify.
He said someone from his own side. So he basically said Charlie Kirk was killed by somebody from his own side. Okay. And this might have been. I know there was some speculation at the time that.
It was a groiper,
a groiper.
Yeah. Far right, blah, blah, blah.
Who's angry that Charlie Kirk isn't right-wing enough.
Yeah.
Which, again, that doesn't really sort of make
But that's not your
sense.
own side.
Yeah, it's not your own side. And also, man, it just didn't pass a basic sense check. You know what I mean? All the political violence, or the majority of it, seems to come from the left because, they believe that they're righteous. So yeah, it didn't pass a basic sniff test, and to sort of make that the basis of your material and your speech and stuff at that time. I mean, it's something you'd want to. I mean, look how careful we are around just making sure that we're telling you the right viewing figures for Jimmy Kimmel's show. That's how dedicated we are to fact checking. So to come out and say something about somebody who's just been killed that is obviously even in the very best, taken it in the very best spirit, it's definite wild speculation.
Oh, absolutely, and it just shows how in a bubble these people are.
Yeah.
That not only did they transmit a falsehood, an egregious falsehood, but number two, nobody just went, hang on a minute, let's actually triple check this before we put this out.
Yeah.
When we know that this has upset, and understandably so, a whole swathe of this country.
Yeah.
When everything is that heated, just to go, guys, let's just make sure that what we're saying here is accurate.
Yeah.
Before we say some jokes about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Anyway, we're going to be doing some jokes that are completely inaccurate. This Friday in London at Dehems in Soho, you can go to the bathhouse afterwards. You can meet some new buddies. It's great. You can buy some poppers. You can sniff them during the show. It'll be lots of fun. So that's this Friday, 26th of September. I'm doing a show on 26th of November in Southampton. There's a link to that below as well. I'm also doing the Comedy Unleashed tour. The Edinburgh, Manchester, Leeds.
It's great fun.
Yeah, it's lots of fun. I'm doing it. It's a shame you're not on it. I was on it with Darius last time, so it's fun when you got a mate.
Special needs people.
Yeah. And yeah, have you got anything to plug? When's your book coming out?
My book's coming out in March. I've got a podcast, a comedy podcast called Francis Foster Sorts Your Life Out. It's great fun. Check it out. Leo's been on there. It's all good. I've had loads of really fun people on there. Winston Marshall, Matt Goodwin. It's a chance to see cultural people But being a bit of the lighter side, we had Julie Bindel who fucking smashed it. She was hilarious. She really was. It's arguably one of the best ever episodes.
So she's an interesting one because she used to be very when I was like a Guardian reader, she was like a Guardian columnist and doing all these op-eds and stuff, and she was very lefty, total feminist. Like how how the sort of Germaine Greer's sort of got left behind by the new woke of feminists who've got a cock, and she's she wasn't on board with the whole gender ideology stuff, so they cancelled her. They cancelled her, and she became it's like J.K. Rowling. It's like, oh, you're Hitler now. It's funny to see that happen to people on the left. That's why they need to get cancelled.
Yeah. But anyway, so go there, or I'm on socials at Francis J. Foster, wherever you find me.
Yeah.
But Leo, man, it's a pleasure. We're going to see you on Friday, each and every single one of you.
Bye.